the lifestyle choices we make matter in a big, big way toward whether or not we are trending toward a state of disease or trending toward a state of wellness.
Welcome to the Rebel Health Coach Podcast with Tom Underwood. Armed with truth and knowledge, your journey to a healthy lifestyle can be obtained. Preventative wellness, quality nourishment, and daily fitness routines dramatically improve your outlook on life as a whole. And you'll find the support and info you need to accomplish a healthier lifestyle here. Together, we can empower each other along our journey to an amazing you.
First of all, Tracy, I'm going to start with something that you, from your dictionary. Woohoo! Oh, welcome to the Rebel Health Coach Podcast this afternoon. You are a mentor to me, my instructor, and I value you there's no words that can say how much I value you and your information.
Thank you, Tom. That's great.
You're amazing to me, and I wish sometimes I think about myself, and I'm like, how do I absorb all this knowledge that you put out? And you actually gave me a supplement that helps. I forgot what it was. It was It was
Memoral.
Memoral from Thorne. All right, take a minute and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you went from an MIT grad into this health field.
So I want to start by just saying thanks for having me, Tom. I appreciate this. And it's my delight to support you in this mission. The journey has been kind of fascinating to me, too. I started out studying engineering and science and a self-proclaimed geek. My mother would tell you that my entire childhood was spent taking things apart and sort of kind of putting them back together. I have always been fascinated by puzzles and by a deep-seated drive to figure out how things work, sort of an insatiable curiosity in that arena. And I had a very successful career in corporate high tech. I worked in the semiconductor industry for 17 years. And it was wonderful. I think I had 9 roles in 17 years. And I did a lot of engineering and operations management and program management, supply chain management, all sorts of different positions from which to experience the field. And I went on an outward-bound adventure, and one of the things that they feature as part of those adventures is an opportunity to spend 24 to 36 hours on your own in the wilderness.
Wow.
In a little 12 by 12 spot of land, and basically see what you have to say to yourself. What is your truth? And I was really at the pinnacle of my high-tech career at that point and enjoying a lot of success. And what I spent time contemplating during that solo experience way up in the Rocky Mountains was that I had been coasting. I had had a lot of financial success, professional success, but I had stopped really learning. That sense of adventure and delving into brand new arenas of knowledge was being stifled. And so I committed to myself that within a year, I would shift gears and go after something else. And that was the beginning of my quitting, which was a great day. And looking for what really resonated with me. And I, like you, stumbled upon the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. I already had 3 degrees, so I really wasn't looking for another degree, but I was really looking for professional training in my area of passion, which I had always been passionate about healthy food and about wellness. I was raised in a restaurant and catering family, and my father had always been very passionate about healthy food. He was way before his time in that. And IIN really resonated with me. And so I went through that certification and became a health coach and started setting up my own practice but my scientific mind was still very, very thirsty. And IIN is a wonderful training program, as I know you've learned, for teaching people how to be a health coach and how to run a successful health coaching practice. But I was craving such more intense clinical knowledge. I really wanted to learn more about medicine and about physiology and how the body worked and how body functioning could be optimized through lifestyle choices. And I was really very blessed to have Dr. Mark Hyman, who is really a true pioneer and leader in the field of functional medicine. I had the great fortune of him mentoring me for a while and turning me on to functional medicine and the Institute of Functional Medicine, where I threw myself with great vigor in order to increase my clinical knowledge as much as possible, and started to add more and more functional medicine know-how into my health coaching practice, and started helping my clients to get amazing results in truly overcoming chronic disease by getting to the root cause, and building a huge practice and a waiting list and hiring staff. And all of that was going like gangbusters. And I started sharing some functional medicine know-how with some of my beloved colleagues and friends, and realized that there was a lot of knowledge that I had gleaned from functional medicine that these other practitioners didn't have.
Wow.
And so I started teaching classes in my kitchen on Saturdays. And I still remember this day when we had 20-something people in my kitchen, and we had a potluck breakfast, and everyone was taking notes like crazy. And one of my friends looked up at me and she smirked and she said, "Oh my God, you need to start a school." And here we are.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so the rest is kind of history. I just started putting together courses, and courses became programs, and programs became a semester. And now we have a school that teaches hundreds of healthcare practitioners at a time how to use functional medicine in their healthcare practice to actually help people to get fully well.
That's incredible. That is incredible. Yeah, you have an outstanding program. But here's a question I get when I tell people what I'm doing. And I'm going to use the words of a Southern friend of mine. What the heck is functional medicine, Tracy?
Yeah, I get that a lot too. So functional medicine is the science of identifying the true root causes of disease in each unique person's body and working with them to reverse those root causes.
Okay.
So when we think about medicine, right, conventional medicine today, I think is really wonderful and a blessing, especially for triage care, right? For people who have been injured or people who have an acute need. But conventional medicine has really failed to help us as a culture to get on top of and stem the growing epidemic of chronic inflammatory diseases. Because we're trying to use the same model that we use for triage care in the arena of lifestyle care. And it's never going to work, right? Because what people need when they've been, hit by a bus, right? Where they have some kind of acute injury or acute infection type of thing. There is a very strong physician-led, pharmaceutical-centered, the sooner the better, let me fix it for you type of approach that is fantastic and life-saving in triage care.
Right.
That is never going to work in chronic inflammatory diseases that by and large are heavily mediated by our lifestyle choices, right? And you know this. You help people with this all the time. The lifestyle choices we make matter in a big, big way toward whether or not we are trending toward a state of disease or trending toward a state of wellness. And functional medicine is really just the science of working out the puzzle, right? What are all the unique puzzle pieces that, when assembled, are creating a state of disease in this person that can be rearranged in order to create a state of wellness?
Okay. Why the need for functional medicine practitioners or functional medicine health coaches? So you're taking a health coach that went through IIN and teaching them functional medicine, and why the need for this in today's society?
In our school, we have a rich variety of different healthcare practitioners. At present, about 2/3 of them are people with various types of medical training. And then, to your point, a full third of them are health coaches. And I'm particularly passionate about teaching health coaches because I believe the combination of functional medicine and coaching is what is going to really transform healthcare. Because from a political viewpoint, we've spent a lot of time arguing about who should be paying for healthcare,
right,
and how expensive healthcare should be or shouldn't be. But what I want is healthcare that's worth paying for, that actually works.
Exactly.
And so I believe that, and we see this all the time, right? When people buckle down and they're committed and they're inspired and they're educated and change their lifestyle, they change how they spend their time, they change how active they are, they change the food that they consume, the body changes too. And what I find particularly inspiring about health coaches is that these are people who have a gift of forming a relationship with individuals that inspires the client, that educates the client, and that most importantly empowers the client with teamwork and accountability to actually change their life in a way that they get well. And I think in that sense that there's a skill set in health coaching about building rapport, about empathy, about communication, about accountability and patience. I think there are millions and millions of people out there who are struggling with various types of disease, who are not content at all to just keep taking a drug to manage their disease. They deep down, they know there has to be more. There's got to be another answer. And I think the combination of functional medicine and health coaching, meeting with those people who want a different reality, is going to transform the state of wellness in our culture. Because we see it all the time, right? If people don't want to have type 2 diabetes anymore, they don't have to. And if they want to keep just taking the medication to manage the disease, that's okay too, right? As I like to say, it's a free country. But there are so many people out there looking for a different solution, and there is a different solution. There is hope. There is another way. We see it all the time. But I think there's a special skill set in health coaches that if we add the clinical expertise to help them to engage with each unique individual and help them sort out the root causes of why they're sick in the first place, really transformative healing happens.
I was thinking back on my path, and from what I've gathered and the information I've learned over the last few years on my walk with this health coaching realm, most health coaches have had some type of health issue in the past, which helps them with the empathy part of it. Because as myself, I had type 2 diabetes, and there's other health coaches out there that have autoimmune disease. There's other health coaches out there that have all kinds of different issues based from inflammation in our body that help us understand the empathy for the people that have it.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. And again, the type of bedside banner, if you will, that a conventional physician might need to use in a triage environment where they really need to be forceful and in charge and directive, that's marvelous for acute care. But in an environment where sustainable lifestyle change is the only thing that's going to help someone to get well and actually stay well, then to your point, the client, the patient needs to be the leader. They need to be in the driver's seat. And when you have a coach that's had their own journey, their own struggle, they bring a tremendous amount of empathy to the process that I think really helps people to feel like they aren't alone, that someone understands where they're coming from, someone understands both the good days and the hard days, and someone can help them to customize a step-by-step approach for their unique body, their unique lifestyle, their unique preferences, rather than some cookie cutter bestseller of the day approach that is supposed to work for everyone, right, but isn't optimal for much of anybody.
Right. And that's, I'm chuckling because when I first started this coaching journey, I was like, okay, this diet worked for me. Let's try it on you. Well, what works for one person will not work for the next person because our bodies, we're all unique individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just say, oh, here, try paleo or try ketogenic diet or try the next, here's another diet that just came out. Try this one. It's not going to work.
Well, and to your point, there are a lot of people out there looking for the magic bullet in a best-selling book. And I honor the fact that those people are trying to be educated. They're trying to be empowered. They want to take charge of their wellness. They want to feel fantastic, right? They don't want to suffer. But what they really need is a health coach that can help them, who can help them to delve into that and honor their uniqueness rather than looking for, a book for the masses to tell them the truth. Because, we're all different. And there are people who thrive and feel fantastic on a paleo diet, and there are people who thrive and feel fantastic on a vegan diet. And as I like to say, neither of them are lying. It's just that their truth is different.
Right.
The optimal set of lifestyle choices for them is unique.
We had a huge win this year for health coaches because in February, U.S. Congress passed a resolution of validation, of course, or for the field of health coaching, the importance of health coaching in today's society, which is awesome. It's an awesome win for us as health coaches. But I look at the healthcare system as more of a disease management system.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect language, right? It's not in the sense of healthcare, like the care and maintenance of health so that people stay well. Healthcare doesn't do that today, not even close. And it's not because the practitioners aren't wonderful, loving, authentic, high integrity, intelligent people. They are. But our current medical education system, by and large, does not include the topic of nutrition. And it doesn't focus on maintaining wellness. It focuses on diagnosing disease once it's already present,
right,
and helping people to manage it. And so I think we're reaping what we've sown, right? Our healthcare system today does, in general, what practitioners have been taught to do, which is to spot disease when they see it and then medically manage it in order to keep it stable and keep someone alive, right? Keep someone from hopefully getting a secondary disease. But that is a completely different science than helping people to proactively maintain their wellness or find it again once they get a little off track, right? Rather than for someone to be so sick that it's diagnosable. How silly is that? We should be helping people to spot small imbalances and blockages and dysfunction when it's just a little niggling symptom, right? Way before it has a chance to become a diagnosable disease. If we were to have that type of proactive, customized approach, so few people would get sick. So few people would actually end up with a diagnosis because we would give them the gift of the opportunity to act beforehand, to act proactively, and to prevent disease. And medical education system today in conventional medicine does not have that as a priority at all. It just doesn't.
Not even close. And now a word from our sponsor. We'll be back in a minute.
We all know that eating healthy is a part of becoming a better person. But if you're finding the organic and non-toxic products too expensive or hard to find, then ThriveMarket.com, the healthy online shopping club, is your solution. Like the Costco meets Whole Foods for everything healthy online, you'll get the best organic and non-GMO brands up to 50% off retail prices, shipped nationally to your door for free within 2 to 3 days. When you become a member, ThriveMarket.com will donate a free membership to a low-income family, teacher, or veteran, so we can all thrive together. You never have to pay full price for healthy food again. Go to thrivemarket.com/therebelhealthcoach to get your free jar of coconut oil and 15% off your first order. This offer is valued at $18 and available for our listeners only on this special link. So here it is again, thrivemarket.com/therebelhealthcoach.
I was talking with a doctor friend of mine last week, actually. And we were talking about statin drugs because one of my specialties in the future is going to be cardiovascular issues.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about statin drugs. I said, so why do you prescribe them if you know they're poison to the body? He says, because if I don't prescribe them, I can get sued for malpractice. If you go in there and you have high cholesterol, which that's a whole nother podcast.
It is. Let's do that one too.
Exactly, because that's a whole nother podcast. But if you come in there with high cholesterol and you don't give them a prescription for statin drugs, and that patient happens to have a heart attack, which from my knowledge and your knowledge, and we know that it doesn't come from cholesterol, but we won't go there. Like I said, that's another podcast. And I'm already going down that rabbit hole. But
Don't provoke me, Tom. Don't provoke me.
I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole on this one. But he has to prescribe the statin drug because it opens him up to be sued for malpractice if he doesn't issue the prescription. And that to me is sad.
Yeah, the whole notion of a need for a universal standard of care, as opposed to your point, for your physician friend, trusting his training and in his intelligence and his wisdom to support a unique individual in the way that is going to best work for them. Physicians do not have that freedom today.
No,
they don't.
They don't.
They don't. And to your point, I have several friends and colleagues who are physicians who are finding that deeply frustrating and I think sometimes demoralizing even. On many occasions, actually, had physician colleagues refer some of their patients to my health coaching practice, basically saying, I know this person can get well, but we've got a limited amount of time before I've got to strongly recommend these drugs to them or I'm going to be strung up. Even though I know that's not the right thing for them, I really am sending them to you because I think they're in a position where they want to change their life. I know enough about the science to know that if they do change their life, it will make these problems go away. So please prioritize them. Please do the best you can because I don't want to have to do what standard of care is going to require me to do. And to your point, that's a travesty, right? I mean, we would never name names, but these are loving, caring, positively motivated physicians who really want to make a difference. I had a friend who shared with me over dinner one time, damn, I did not become a physician in order to write prescriptions all day. Like, why didn't they tell me up front that was going to be the status of my world in managed care? And I can really appreciate the frustration of that. And I feel like, in particular, something I know you and I've discussed before, bringing health coaches into the medical practice could really make a huge difference because then it allows greater partnership between the astute, wise diagnostician in the physician and then the warm, approachable, committed health coach partnering with the patient to really help them to make that lifestyle change. I think that's the dynamic duo that, 20 years from now, every medical practice should have health coaches on their staff. In fact, I would love for everyone to walk into their physician's office and the next time they're told, you really need to eat better or you really need to have less stress. I would love for all of us as patients to be saying, so who on your staff is going to help me do that?
Exactly.
who on your staff is going to help me understand what that means? Look, I'm trying, right? I'm not ignoring you. I'm not unintelligent. I'm doing the best I can. Clearly, I need some guidance. I need some education. I need a partner. When are you going to provide me some help for that? And I think if we all start pushing for that, we will start to create the cultural shift where more and more physicians, one at a time, will see the wisdom of bringing this diversity into the healthcare team. Because I think the health coach is the next logical progression of the expansion of the multimodality healthcare team.
Exactly. And thank goodness for people like James Maskel.
Yeah.
Who is pushing and working endlessly to get this system right so that there is a physician, because we still need physicians, and they're like you said, to your point, that doctors didn't get in this just to write prescriptions. They didn't go say, I'm going to go to medical school just so I can write a prescription. They went in this to help people. And it's the system that gets them to write prescriptions. And James Maskel is doing a phenomenal job is trying to tie this physician, health coach, or functional medicine health coach together to work hand in hand to get people to reverse their diabetes, to get off the statin drugs, to reverse autoimmune disease, to thyroid issues, and all the issues that come along with inflammation in the body. And I think that's where, like, my next question for you is, how do we tie these together with a doctor, physician, and functional medicine practitioner?
Well, I think to your point, James Maskel, who is the founder of the Evolution of Medicine, I think his website is goevomed.com, is really just inspiring and I think powerful pioneer out on the leading edge in terms of showing a business model to physicians who want to practice functional medicine, who want to practice this different way of addressing chronic lifestyle disease, and giving them a business model that can help them to do so successfully. Certainly within a managed care system that today assumes that a physician and a patient only need to chat with each other for about 12 minutes in order to get to the heart of what's wrong and write a prescription, right?
Right.
But you don't help someone change their lifestyle by chatting with them for 12 minutes every 6 months.
Right.
And so good medicine, functional medicine applied in a way that's effective takes more time. And the managed care system is not, at least as of yet, making that reimbursable, or at least not very easily. And so James Maskel has, I think, really done a wonderful job starting to educate physicians about various business models that they can use in order to make this medicine successful financially. And I have to tell you, Tom, I'm very optimistic. I really feel like in our lifetime, all the health coaching will be reimbursable by insurance, because more and more news of the potential is going to get out. Because what is the lifetime cost of supporting someone with type 2 diabetes, even if it doesn't evolve into cardiovascular disease, is several $100,000.
Right.
Versus if someone can spend, let's even say it takes a year. And as you know, it usually doesn't. But even if someone spends a year with some good support from a health coach to get educated so they can reverse their diabetes and they never need any of that support again. And even if it's on the expensive side, that costs what? $3,000
right.
as opposed to $300,000, and a lot of pain and suffering for that patient along the way for the more expensive route. This is straightforward. Any profit-driven industry is going to figure this out, that people want to be well. Nobody wants to be sick. Nobody wants to take a pill and feel bad and just wait for the other shoe to drop. People want to be well. And so I think eventually we will figure this out. We have to, or we're going to become bankrupt as a society trying to medicate and manage disease. We've got to move to eradicating disease.
It's happening already.
Totally. But I do think it's going to become the standard. And I say that I'm sure there's people listening who are like, wow, talk about an idea whose time has come. It is happening, but I think it's going to be standard of care in our lifetime. I really believe that.
I believe that too, and I'm looking forward to that because if you reverse diabetes, and like to what you said, to your point about the expenses of having diabetes for a lifetime and the complications that occur from diabetes are very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, because diabetes is my passion, because my father passed away of complications from having diabetes and metabolic syndrome, and that's another whole can of rabbit hole that I'm not going to go in. But it's expensive, and to reverse it, like to your point about it, may take 6 months, it may take a year, but the cost of that in the long run is far less expensive than the cost of having to feed them for the diabetic medications for many years. So let's talk about this. This is a question from one of my listeners. What is the benefit of working with a functionally medicine trained health coach versus a functionally medicine trained physician?
Well, like we were just talking about it, ideally, you would be able to go to a functional medicine practice. But I, certainly you're probably like me in my health coaching practice. We have supported a number of clients over the years who have already been to a functional medicine physician and gotten a really wonderful workup, great advanced testing, a real clear understanding of the root causes of inflammation and disease in their unique body. But knowing what's at play accurately,
right,
and getting the support that you need to take action to remedy that are two very different things. And so, regardless of the practitioner that is engaged in terms of what their background is, you need to find someone that you can work with as a partner in your wellness journey. Because society today does not promote a lot of healthy lifestyle choices at all. It really doesn't, right? I mean, and if we look around at what we are collectively encouraging each other to do based on what we market, what we advertise, what we sell, what we reward, what we promote, it's about people being overweight, hyperstimulated, exhausted, stressed, and highly inflamed. I mean, if an alien were to land on our planet and sort of objectively assess everything, they would say, wow, these people are very effective. They're all reaping exactly what they sow. And so there's a lot of impetus and bias in our culture. Even when people are just trying to do the right thing, they're just humming along, doing what everybody else is doing, that puts them on a pathway of disease. So people need a coach. People need an accountability partner. They need someone to educate them. They need someone to inspire them and keep them on track on the days that they're demoralized. And all of those things a coach can do. The difference is that a health coach that also has gotten functional medicine training has a whole new level of advanced clinical education in terms of helping that client to really sort out the root causes and then helping them to dive into the detail of changing their life to make those root causes go away.
Right. That's awesome. Because I know from my little bit of practice, and I haven't been doing it as extensively or as long as you have, but I know that I get clients texting me at 10 o'clock at night and saying, hey, I got a problem. And this is what I was telling the listener that asked me this question. Is like, give me one doctor that's going to respond to a text message at 10 o'clock at night, or a functionally medicine trained doctor that will answer your text at 10 o'clock at night. I don't mind when a client says, hey, man, I'm having a problem, and they text me, I'll answer their text because that's what I do. And I don't think, there's many physicians, or if any, that will answer a text from you at 10 o'clock at night.
Well, I think the biggest nemesis for people who are trying really hard to change their life and to be well is feeling alone.
Right.
I think it's human nature, right? Whether we're introverted or extroverted, we want to know that we're not alone. We want to know that we have competent, non-judging teammates on our side who can help us to find that wellness. And, different healthcare modalities are set up to operate in different ways. And I think it's one of the reasons why all physicians should have health coaches on their staff. Because, if you're a physician and you've been seeing patients all day long for 12 hours, doing a lot of diagnostics and a lot of case review, then you're exhausted. But you need teammates whose job it is to answer those questions and whose job it is to be there for people when they get derailed, whose job it is to be there to say, okay, so Dr. Bob just said that you're struggling with this and this and this. Now, I know from experience you probably feel a little overwhelmed. So let's just take a step back. Let me explain a little more what he meant, and then I'm going to answer all your questions so that when you leave here, you feel confident and informed. Well, you can practically feel people's relief, like, oh, thank God. Okay, I didn't understand a word he said. Now tell me, okay, let's talk about it. I have 10 questions. Or even if people are feeling like, okay, yeah, I got it. I'm savvy. I do my own research. I understand. But someone who can sit down and say, okay, so let's talk about how we're actually going to operationalize this. Let's talk about what changes tomorrow are going to begin to make a difference in this area. And let's customize a plan just for you based on the practical constraints and preferences that you have in your unique life. I think it just brings people relief to know that they're not alone and that they don't have to try and cram their wellness journey into some cookie cutter standard that is just not going to work for them.
Right. A lot of people just go Google what they're feeling. But all kinds of things come up when you Google stuff.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because I find that to be a real, a catch-22, right? I love that people are empowered and that they want to be educated and that people can dive in online for hours to try and just understand more, like they want to know. That's clear evidence of people's curiosity and their thirst for reliable knowledge. But the problem is that so much of the medical or wellness media online is entrenched in fear mongering. It's why, so many people who might otherwise just be suffering from a migraine. I mean, if you spend enough time Googling migraine symptoms, you'll walk away 2 hours later pretty convinced you have a brain tumor. and it doesn't do anything to reinforce people's sense of empowerment. I think it can send people into a tailspin of fear. And there is nothing therapeutic about fear at all. And so I think it's wonderful that people want to learn, that they're empowered and they're seeking. But I think unstructured Googling very often, unfortunately, does more harm than good, because the resources people come upon are very much focused on sensationalistic fear mongering or over promoting one person's solution that, again, is being billed as one size fits all. And then they go and pursue that thinking, well, if it worked for this guy, it must work for me. And then when it doesn't, they get demoralized and they give up.
Exactly.
So I'm all about education, but that's where I think education coming from a health coach, where that can really be clinically reliable from a person who is really trained to provide that education, and then help people to find a customized solution, is where the rubber hits the road, right? That's where the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is, because it gives people knowledge that they can actually act on, and it keeps people in a space of positivity and pursuing what's actually going to work to help them to get better, rather than living in a daily state of fear of, okay, what are all the painful, terrible things that are going to happen to me if I fail?
Right. And, it's just an amazing thing that you're doing. And the rabbit hole that I'm going to go down now is, let's talk about going from wildly successful health coaching, which was the name of your original company, to the School of Applied Functional Medicine, which is where we're going now?
Yeah. So when we started the school back in 2011, because I had started my practice as a health coach, the people that I was teaching were all health coaches, which was wonderful, and it was an avenue for coaches who wanted to work with more complex clients, people who had really entrenched chronic disease, especially these complex, multi-layered kinds of disease processes that often don't find relief or resolution at all in the conventional medical care system. It was an avenue for those folks to really gain confidence and knowledge in supporting those kinds of clients. But as the school has grown and we've been educating hundreds and hundreds of practitioners, I think as I shared in the beginning, more and more of our students are medical practitioners, different training backgrounds. A lot of nurses, nurse practitioners, nutritionists, physicians, midwives, pharmacists, massage therapists, psychotherapists, bodywork specialists, all sorts of diverse healthcare modalities blending together in this really warm, loving community. It's such a blessing. But in deference to the changing demographic of the student body, earlier this year, we changed the name of the school to the School of Applied Functional Medicine to acknowledge and celebrate this rich, diverse environment. And more, our practitioner students are coming to us with all sorts of different prior training, different medical training. In some cases, people have taken other functional medicine training programs, even degrees. But I think what really sets us apart in this medical education world is that we teach the practical application of functional medicine. It's one thing to understand the science of interconnectedness in the body and the etiology of various disease states, but it's another thing to feel competent and confident in supporting the person who walks in your office tomorrow who is struggling with a certain disease state. So we do a much deeper dive into case studies and the practical application of this know-how than other training programs. I'm delighted that there are lots of training programs out there. I don't see those as competitors as much as we're all various family members of the same family going after the same thing. But our specialty is really that practical application of functional medicine know-how. And I welcome a rich variety of practitioners with all sorts of different backgrounds and licenses and certifications. I think the more the merrier, the richer the variety and diversity, the better, because we all have something to learn from each other.
Okay, where can people find you?
Online, appliedfunctionalmedicine.com.
Appliedfunctionalmedicine.com. Okay, awesome.
On Facebook, also Applied Functional Medicine.
Okay.
And lots of free resources in both places. All sorts of different clinical tips on our blog and videos that people can take advantage of in order to learn more about the etiology of disease from a functional medicine perspective. So my greatest passion, Tom, you know this, is really to be of service in this arena. I'm a self-professed geek at heart.
Yes, you are.
And, I just love sharing the science, educating people, doing it in a way that is immediately practical and can be translated into practice right away. And I'm excited about the healthcare transformation that is at hand. And like I was saying before, the healthcare transformation that I believe is our destiny. It can't not happen. We can't afford for it to be otherwise. It's just a matter of us collectively as a culture, demanding this transformation, because we are a smart, flexible, and agile species and culture. And we just got to start demanding healthcare that really emphasizes wellness and that starts focusing on maintaining wellness. Then I think we're really going to find the healthcare industry that we've always wanted.
Exactly. And I think we're headed that way. I honestly believe that And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to cover this subject with you today, is because people need to know what the heck functional medicine is.
Yeah, and to your point, Tom, people need to know, and we see this all the time, right? And the students in the school, we talk about this all the time. People are reversing type 2 diabetes. People are getting rid of their hypertension. They're getting rid of their IBS. They're getting rid of their arthritis. They're getting rid of their autoimmune disease. People are reversing disease dynamics. It's not some hocus pocus snake oil type of dynamic. People really are getting well if they are willing and able to change the lifestyle that helped them to get sick in the first place.
Exactly.
So I really want to give people hope. This is happening, right?
It is happening.
It's not an imagined future. It's happening. I'm just excited about it becoming the norm. And I really want to thank you actually for having me today and for having this podcast, which helps to promote health and hope. It helps to spread knowledge and spread the hope and the insight that this type of healing is possible, because it is. We see it every day.
I am blessed to have you in my life as an instructor, as a mentor, and I'm glad that you're started this, and I'm glad it's part of my journey. I do have one more question before we go. I am a music geek at heart. If you had 1 hour or 1 to 3 hours to kill, what album or artist would you listen to?
Oh, that's a good question. I love music also. Music is really inspiring to me. There are a lot of choices out there. Can I give 2?
You can give 2. I'll take 2.
I would either choose Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
Or Maroon 5.
Oh, a little Adam Levine.
Yeah, especially old school Maroon 5.
Yes.
Yeah, I really enjoy both of those. I like a rich variety of music, and music helps me to stay grounded. So much of what we do is so intellectual, right?
Exactly.
And so music to really kick back and get refreshed from throughout the day is a good part of my self-care.
And we all need self-care.
Absolutely.
Tracy, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Thank you for putting yourself out there on this frontier of good medicine. I appreciate the opportunity to celebrate that with you. It's good to be with you today.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Rebel Health Coach Podcast. Please go to my website, www.tomunderwood.net. That's THOM underwood.net. And grab yourself a copy of my free ebook, 11 Surprisingly Easy Changes to Be Your Best Self. It's under the freebies tab at the top of the page. This will also sign you up for my monthly newsletter, and I promise not to blast you with endless BS emails. Also, if you'd like to book a 1-hour consultation with me, at the bottom of the homepage, just click on the button, schedule a free 1-hour consultation. And if you really enjoyed this show, please go to iTunes and rate the show and leave me a comment. Have a blessed day.